Center for the Ethiopian Educational Information and Communication Technology presents Educational Satellite Television Programs.
Hello, teacher. Hello, students. Welcome to today's lesson on some important compounds of selected nonmetals. Today, we will be learning about nitric acid. In our last lesson, we learned about the manufacturing process of ammonia, which is known as the Haber process. We learned that this process was created by Fritz Haber and was put into commercial use by Carl Bosch, both of whom were German chemists. We learned about the steps involved in the Haber process, as well as some uses for ammonia, such as in fertilizers and explosives. In today's lesson, we are going to learn the steps involved in Ostwald's process. This is the process used to produce nitric acid industrially. We will also discuss some of the chemical properties of nitric acid and some of its uses. Pure nitric acid is a colorless liquid. However, when it is exposed to light, it turns a yellowish-brown color. This is because it decomposes slightly into nitrogen dioxide and oxygen. Nitric acid has a boiling point of 83 degrees Celsius and a melting point of minus 42 degrees Celsius. Nitric acid is a strong acid. It separates completely to produce hydronium and nitrate in aqueous solutions. Nitric acid forms a large amount of salts, which are called nitrates. Nitrates are often very soluble in water. Nitric acid is also a strong oxidizing agent. It is even more so when it is hot and concentrated. Nitric acid is produced industrially from ammonia. It involves 3 steps and is known as Ostwald's process. Baltic German chemist Friedrich Wilhelm Ostwald patented this process in 1902. It is now a mainstay in the chemical industry. Students, before we learn about the steps involved in Ostwald's process, please describe 3 chemical properties of nitric acid.
Students, let's get ready. Begin. Time's up. Let's get back to our lesson.
Welcome back, students. I wonder what chemical properties of nitric acid you were able to come up with. You might have said that it decomposes in air to produce a brown liquid containing the products nitrogen dioxide and oxygen. Nitric acid is also both a strong acid and a strong oxidizing agent. You might have said that nitric acid forms a large amount of salts, or nitrates. All of these answers are correct. Let us continue and learn about the steps involved in Ostwald's process. In the first step of Ostwald's process, ammonia is burned with a large amount of oxygen over a platinum catalyst. This step produces nitric oxide. In the second step, more air is added to cool the mixture and to oxidize the nitric oxide to nitrogen dioxide. Finally, the nitrogen dioxide gas is bubbled into warm water. In the warm water, it reacts to form nitric acid and nitric oxide. The nitric oxide is recycled in the second step. Students, let us watch a video to help us review what we have just learned. As you can see through the process, nitric oxide becomes nitrogen dioxide, which becomes nitric acid. You can remember this progression by thinking of telling someone the word no. At first, you say it normally. This represents nitric oxide. Then, if that person is not listening to you, you say it a little bit stronger. This represents nitrogen dioxide. If that person is still not listening to you, you must say it quite strongly. This is represented by nitric acid. To reiterate, in the first step, ammonia is burned with oxygen to form nitric oxide. Water is also formed. In the second step, air is added to cool the mixture and oxidize it to nitrogen dioxide. In the third step, nitrogen dioxide is bubbled in warm water, which reacts to produce nitric acid as well as nitric oxide. Now that we have gone over the steps, write the chemical equations for each step of Ostwald's process, making sure to put them in the correct order. Students, you may begin whenever you are ready.
Students, let's get ready. Begin. Time's up. Let's get back to our lesson.
Hello again, students. Were you able to write the chemical equations for each step of Ostwald's process? Please compare your equations to those on the screen. Make sure that your equations are in the proper order as well. If your answers match those on the screen, you are correct. Great work. Nitric acid is used for all sorts of things, although a large amount is used to synthesize nitrate, which is a water-soluble fertilizer. A lot of nitric acid is used to make plastics, drugs, dyes, and explosives. In today's lesson, we learned about how nitric acid is industrially manufactured using Ostwald's process. We learned the 3 steps involved in this process, as well as how to write the chemical equations that describe them. We discussed some of the chemical properties of nitric acid. We learned that it is a strong acid and oxidizer, and it forms a large amount of nitrates. We also talked about some of the uses of nitric acid. We learned that it is used to make fertilizer, plastics, dyes, and even explosives. This brings us to the end of our lesson for today. Until next time, thank you, teacher. Thank you, students.